Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Webinar Wednesday with Advisicon. Today's webinar is titled Leading Your First Project. It is widely known that there are skilled experts who fall victim to the fallacy of the halo effect, which says that because you are skilled at your craft, you automatically must be skilled at managing a project using that craft. Well, our hope here at Advisicon is that we can equip you with some overview of the project management process and point out some targets you want to hit along the way as you lead your first project. Here at Advisicon, our amazing team of trainers, developers, and technology consultants want to help you maximize your productivity, impact, and purpose, and we do that through a blend of technology and methodology consulting. A little bit about myself. My name is Sean. I'm a project advisor and academy trainer. I have a background in math education. To help you understand what that means is that you have a numerator and a denominator, and there's a fine line between a numerator and a denominator, and only a fraction of people really are going to get it. Yes, that also means I enjoy dad jokes, and I am dad joke certifiable. I do have experience in implementing Microsoft 365 as solutions to our customers. I am a Microsoft certified professional in Teams administration. I also do have a CAPM, or a Certified Associate in Project Management, and all this is a reflection of my 10 years of delivering instruction and training. Today's agenda, we'll take an overview of the project management process, get a lay of the land. What is this project management thing? Then we'll go a little deeper, look at the phases, activities, and tools involved in project management. And then lastly, we'll go even more refined. We'll look at the cornerstones, something that you as a first-time project leader can grab onto. All right, let's start with our overview of project management processes. Here's a quote to think about. If you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. Activities should have objective definitions. When delivering a dad joke, for example, there clearly are steps, the setup and then the punchline. And being able to articulate the steps of a joke means that I understand what I'm doing, and therefore I am really funny, or not. All right, I want to begin by acknowledging that project management has been in practice since the pyramids were built. And they did that without laptops or the internet. So really, it's just an understanding of what we're doing. But establishing industry best practices started with the Project Management Institute in 1969. And through many iterations, the project management lifecycle has been refined and defined and redefined, again, into phases with associated processes. Now, to help you lead your first project, it's beneficial to understand where you are at in the lifecycle, to know which processes should be done at this point. At the same time, knowing where processes are at in the life cycle helps you focus on just the pertinent ones. You don't want to be working on the project management plan when you haven't even yet been given project authorization. In this webinar, we're not going to be able to cover all the processes in detail, but we will walk through all the phases and highlight the fundamentals. All right, so here's the process we're going to walk through today. And whether you realize it or not, you have been working on projects for much of your life. Let's take example, getting dressed for a formal occasion such as a wedding. All right, what do we do? Well, first there's an initiation, something that says this is going to happen. There's a calendar date marked, invite received perhaps. Now, in the idea of getting dressed for that occasion, you are authorized to pick out your clothing. So I'm told of an event. Next, I'll make a plan, right? I'll decide, what time of the year is it? What colors should I wear? Was there a color scheme provided? Dress with more layers. So you decide what to wear, right? You have a vision of this is what my wedding outfit will look like. Next, you execute it. You put that plan into action. You do the work, right? You actually get dressed, put on the layers, and according to the plan you set forth. Next step, and something that's often maybe not recognized, but very often done, is you monitor your plan, or you monitor your execution as it relates to your plan. Is this what I said I would do? Because I thought thoroughly about what I would wear. And so you reflect, you look in the mirror. Yep, this is the tie I chose. This is the jacket I chose. So all these pieces are going according to the plan. And lastly, it's the closeout. You reflect again. How did this process go? How did this project go? Did I pick the right clothes for the event? It was actually not enough layers. I was cold during the event. So next time, I will choose heavier layers so as not to be cold. You put your tools away, meaning you put your clothes away, and the project is essentially complete. So we have an understanding of the project management process, and at least what we will be covering. Now let's go a little deeper, go into the phases, activities, and yes, even tools that you as a first-time leading your project can use. Now, I want to help understand the project management process by looking at the delivery of making a celebratory dinner, such as Thanksgiving. What goes into making that happen? Project management is always happening, and delivering a large celebratory dinner like this, it does follow the life cycle. Let's get to it. All right, let's start with the initiation phase. Authorization has been given for this event to happen. In the context of project management, there is a formal recognition that we should do this project. The business case has been defined. We know that this is in line with the initiatives of our company, so we should do this project. So that's one. Secondly, there's an authorization given to the project manager that says this person has been identified to use company resources, whether it's funding or human resources or internal resources to actually get the project completed. So understand this should happen. And often it's not formally done, but you want to get something put into place, such as a project charter. Here's our first tool. The project charter answers the question, why are we doing this? Right? We want all the activities we do to align with our organization's goals. The project charter should mention a purpose. It should have deliverables, but measurable deliverables, not just it looks like this, but it looks like this with these, what we call requirements. Your project charter should also include milestones that we should know we're on the track to completing our deliverable by hitting these points. And lastly, your project charter should include exit criteria. What will we do when the project is done? And go back to the idea of hosting Thanksgiving dinner. You want to recognize first, whose house are we meeting at, right? And that person maybe is given the authority to cook maybe all or maybe most of the dishes, right? So recognize this is the reason why we chose this house over this house, right? We want to meet at Grandma's house instead of Uncle Frank and Auntie Carol's new home. We've thought through this, and this is the best choice as we begin this project. All right, moving along in the project management process. Yeah, initiate. It doesn't take too much of the process. It's really quick, but very important. Next, we want to put a plan together. Important is to know what is the target here in our project. As it said, you can hit a target that's all the time if it's never defined, right? But here, when you have a project that you invested the time in, the resources, let's make sure we know what we're going to hit. And we call this the scope or deliverables. It's a document that just says, here are the things we're going to hit. And it's aligned with our project, our organization goals. Often it's asked, when doing the plan, how much planning really do you need? Well, according to PMI, it's enough planning to be sufficient to move forward, but you don't need to be too detailed. One technique is that you can do a rolling wave plan, that as you move towards that phase of making a deliverable, we can get more defined. Just in time, you can make a decision that, right, I have most information, and now let's make a decision about what that deliverable looks like, given the resources, given our scope, given our how close we are to the deadline. Now we have the most information. Again, make a plan so that you can move forward, but don't feel like you have to know every detail. At the same time, take the time to make a plan. Make sure that you and your customer have the same vision of what this deliverable will look like. A couple tools to help you with that is a game called Remember the Future. As a project manager, it is your responsibility to get the vision from your customers out. They have a vision about it, but maybe they can't always articulate. You can play this game called Remember the Future. And what that means is you start with the prompt saying, oh, you remember that time we did that awesome project, with the one you're currently working on? It was successful because, and they will articulate why was it successful. And then really from this, you're starting to gather your requirements, that it should have this feature, it should be within this budget, things like that. Another tool, you can put all this together using a Microsoft SharePoint list. Here's an example of a SharePoint list for our Thanksgiving dinner. Notice on the left, you have your requirement ID, meaning that every requirement should be uniquely identified. That way, there's less ambiguity about which requirement are you talking about again? Descriptions can be similar. Then you want to have the description. Maybe turkey is enough. Maybe you want to elaborate a little bit. You want to say who requested this. That way, if there's any questions, you can go back to that person and say, hey, can you help us define this a little bit more? Another thing, everyone has requests and requirements of what they wanted to the dinner to look like, but you have to prioritize what are those requests. And there are techniques, there are games you can ask your customers or in this case, the family to say, all right, what are our must-haves? And of course, when it comes to an American Thanksgiving, we want turkey. Next, what is the acceptance criteria? How do we know that the turkey is the done turkey? Well, according to Alex, the turkey must be of 20 pounds. It has to be deep fried, right? Not oven baked. Alex wants it deep fried. It will be golden brown, and we want it thoroughly cooked, right? No, we don't want to find any pink on the inside. So and we can go down the list, right? Christine can make a request saying, all right, we're inviting 25 people, and this is a must. So here we are again in the scope. Make sure that we know what a deliverable looks like for your project. Moving on, you want to next develop a schedule. A schedule answers the question, what work will actually hit that target? See, again, we're cascading from a project rationale to the work that to the target of what that project looks like, and now what work will hit that target. And is there a best order? Is there a logic to these steps? So what are some tools you could use? Obviously, you could use a calendar. You could just write on a paper calendar, these steps will happen at this point. You can put in your milestones to say, on this date, I got to do this. On this date, I got to do this, right? And no later. Another tool that you could use for your project management is Microsoft Project for the Web. Let's take a look at that. Here we are at the timeline view on the Project for the Web app. And we've listed some key milestones. We got to do shopping, got to get the turkey, and we got to get some mashed potatoes. What's helpful with the Project for the Web tool is that you can make a timeline. You can say, these are going to happen on this event. And yeah, I can't thaw the turkey until I buy the turkey. So of course that needs to go before. And I can even delay the start of thawing the turkey after I buy the turkey, right? I may not do it right away. Project for the Web might be a tool in your professional project management that helps you sequence the event. For example, if dinner needs to start at a certain time, I can work backwards and say, all right, well, the mashed potatoes better be done and the turkey better be done. All right, well, what's going to make the mashed potatoes done? I better boil them, and then I better mix and mash them. You can schedule out all these events. Again, they're driving towards that one defined goal that your org has identified and that the customer will be most satisfied. When you have an event that is like the must, that's something called the critical path, right? The longest event that'll take to get your end result. And since the turkey is likely to be the one that cooks the longest, 5-6 hours, depending on the size, that probably is your critical path. And so putting a schedule together to know what is the thing that if it doesn't get done, this whole project doesn't get done, that helps you to visualize that and put it in front of you so you can say, I better focus on that. Next, we've got the scope, we've got the schedule. How about the resources? The question is, who can do the work? Often that can question, it involves skill, maybe experience, or maybe as an org, we're saying, let's bring on some of our junior resources so that we can enable them to be able to do the work. Some tools for that is maybe a Kanban board. Kanban being Japanese just for a board sign. So just having up in front of you a board that shows the list of the activities and then now assigning them to individuals so that they can now do the work. Thanksgiving, you obviously want the skilled people to prepare the food because they just know how to do it right? They know the ingredients, they got the touch, they know the timing. So that's why you want to choose the right resources. Let's take a look at what that would look like in maybe Microsoft Planner. So here in Planner, you can set up your buckets in almost any way you choose. In this Thanksgiving example, I've set up the buckets to be time phases. 2 weeks before, the week of, the day of, and here what even happens after dinner, right? As managing this project, I know that there's an after dinner things to do, and we're not going to forget about that. That's just not going to slip. That constitutes a successful Thanksgiving dinner when even the after dinner activities are taken care of. So we'll maybe send out some invitations. And what's nice about in planners that you can assign them to individuals. You can say, you are responsible. That way, there's any question, we know who to go to and ask, hey, why weren't the invitations sent out? Or, on a successful project, you did send it out, and thank you, congratulations, and we can receive praise for completing the assigned tasks. You can mark things as important or even urgent, right? Hey, this turkey, it's a key piece of our Thanksgiving celebration, so make sure that turkey is purchased. So you can see, again, time phases, assignments, all useful when making your plan. And what's the key idea here is that we're trying to assign resources, skilled people who can take care of the task, take care of it to satisfaction to our customers as well. Next phase of the planning designing, rather the next process within the plan or design is cost. Right? What's the budget? Unfortunately, we have limited resources, so we want to stay within a budget. We can't just spend and spend and spend and spend. So ask yourself, what is the budget? A couple tools that can help you do that is something called bottom-up estimating. And what that means is you look at each deliverable. What will it take to create that deliverable? And then you really break it down into the pieces of it. And really, this might take the most time, but it's also the most accurate estimating technique. Furthermore, while you can go shopping and do these things on a personal level, what about when your org decides that we really need to keep track of the costs that this project is bringing in? Fortunately, Planner doesn't do that very well. Project for the web, not yet, perhaps. But let's take a look at Project Online. Microsoft Project Online allows you to do similar activities like Project for the web, where you create tasks and you can set durations and start and end dates. And just like Project for the web, you can add successors and predecessors so that you can have a nice waterfall schedule. But what's also useful when doing Project Online is that you can add a cost component. To bring in that senior technical advisor might cost more than a junior technical advisor. You can set the costs in your project system, your project web app, and say, what will it cost for a half-day work for that resource? And now you can say, all right, I know the cost for individuals, and how does that fit in my whole budget? So Project Online will allow you to roll all this up. Now, I haven't gone too much into any of these tools because our library of videos has so much to offer. So please search for videos on how to use all these tools: Project Online, Project for the Web, and Planner. All right, next process, communicate, right? Who needs what information? And as you're planning this Thanksgiving dinner, that's probably very important, right? Who's got what items? What's coming up? Hey, just a reminders. All these things happen as the family is gathering for this Thanksgiving dinner. Some tools that'll be helpful is a communication matrix. And a communication matrix really is just like a spreadsheet or a table that has identified information, and it's made available for everyone to see. When can I expect what communications? What should I use? Which channel should I use if I want to communicate a certain piece of information? Let's take a look at that. All right within Teams, I've actually built a SharePoint list. This is just a list built within Microsoft Teams. And this might be very useful even with a family planning their Thanksgiving dinner, because you have the ability to, yes, communicate with posts. You can share chat and things like that. But you can also say, what type of communications deserve which channel. For example, we've listed some 3 different channels. You can do a group text, you can do a phone call, or you can have face-to-face communication. And the associated objectives. If you're just giving updates on the progress towards this Thanksgiving dinner, just send it on the group chat, and everyone will see it, right? But if you have changes to make, or if you need help, please call. Don't just put it on the group chat. That just might get lost in the mix. But call out, reach out to someone specifically so that you confirm, how was it a pinch or was it a spoonful of the ingredient? The audience obviously is the person you call. Again, if you need more communication, more feedback, definitely you want to do face-to-face. And this is not just for the family aspect, but even in professional aspect, when there's big changes, such as I'm changing a dish, right? That probably would want a back and forth dialogue of communication. So you want to then have that face-to-face communication. In this example, grandma and grandpa are hosting, so I better give them face-to-face communication to tell them things are changing, I'm bringing a guest, or if I just want to express an act of kindness to grandma and grandpa. Again, as a project leader, think about the communication and what form of communication best fits. All right, next. Something that often isn't thought about, but definitely felt when it does manifest, is risk. And the question you ask yourself as you plan a project is, what could decrease the value of this project? I have this perceived value, but there are factors that can decrease the value. You want to call them out. You want to use a tool called a risk register, where you just take some time and maybe get with your project stakeholders and say, what could affect the success, the value of this project? And maybe in the family aspect, as it pertains to this Thanksgiving dinner, maybe there's just going to be too many guests. Like, oh, I didn't expect. We expected 25, and now we've got 30. That's a risk. What that could decrease the value of this dinner. What if the dinner doesn't cook right? That's again another risk that could impact the success of this project. And I want to highlight the tool Excel. A lot of these tools I've been mentioning are part of the project stack. But even just a simple Excel tool, as a first-time project manager, could be helpful and beneficial to you. Let's take a look at what that might be. All right, so here on this, what we call our risk register, we're, again, uniquely identifying them. That way we can say it's this risk, right? Risk 1, risk 2, or is it risk 3 we're talking about? And then we describe it. A couple of these I mentioned, but maybe the worst one is that on this American Thanksgiving, your football team doesn't win. Another way to describe this risk is the likelihood and the impact. Some risks are just inherent, that things could happen, right? But the likelihood of it helps us to know, how much attention should we give to it. And then if it were to manifest, what would be the impact of that risk? And here we just given it a scale of 1 to 5. Is it likely to happen or not? And what would be the impact if it were manifested? And then you can multiply that together, and then that gives you a score of which risks should we address first. Also, have a response ready. This is part of having a successful project. When a risk does manifest, what is going to be your response to it? If more guests arrive than expected, we're going to have to, make this food stretch further. So we're going to make more sides, bring out the extra boxes because we got to make them quickly, right? You're going to maybe cut thinner slices on the turkey so that everyone has some. And also then you're going to say, who is in charge of this? Should this happen? If more guests arrive than expected, grandma is the owner to make these things happen. And then you can even indicate to your stakeholders, what's the status of this? Is it inactive? Is it active? Is it resolved? All right, we spent a lot of time in that planning phase. It's exciting to jump into the execution phase if you're someone like me who wants to just get it done. But having a plan puts everything in a nice sequence order. And actually that makes the execution go faster and more accurate because you have a plan and you're just running that plan. You're not having to make decisions along the way. You're just following the plan. So now let's move into execution. And really the execution phase, you want to reference the plan, right? I've made the plan, keep in line with that plan. You're really just putting the plan into action. Tools that you want when executing. You want experts. When preparing the dish, you want the seasoned experts who know what they're doing to, in the case of our dinner, to be the ones who cook and prepare the food. Now you might have, junior staff, or in this case with the children helping and watching, and that equips them. But really the experts are the ones who are leading. Also, you want to reference historical work, right? Last year, did that go as I planned? Well, that had too much salt. Or, when Uncle Frank comes, he has an allergy, so we got to remove that. Referencing historical work when executing your plan. Now, when you actually execute the plan, changes can happen, right? As we mentioned, a risk is that the guest count can go up or down. The location can change. What do we do if the plans change? We move into the monitoring phase. We actually say, are we meeting the requirements, right? The requirements were 25 people, but now it's 30. Oh no, that's more than what we planned for. And so we move into something that project managers are expected to be responsible for, and that's change management. What do I do if plans change? The plan was, wait, bowls of stuffing. Did I say 2 or did I say 3? All right, we go back to the plan. What tools do we do to manage this change? Well, one, really never just jump into the work. Always do analysis of the change. You analyze the impact of the change. You analyze the plan versus what work has been done. That way you just know where you're at. Secondly, what comes out of monitoring or testing is the work performance data. Go and measure the data, and from the data you then create information and reports. So collect data. In terms of this Thanksgiving dinner, you might taste the food, right? Is that right? Nope, more salt. The recipe called for this much salt, but I'm adding more. So we're always monitoring the plan versus how work is going. All right. At this point, when we hit closeout, we're saying that we've actually delivered the deliverable. It's been accepted by the customer, and job well done, team. But the process is still not over. There's one more phase called closeout. The question we ask ourselves in the closeout phase is, how did we do? It's time for reflection. In our Thanksgiving setting, let's sit around and let's talk about, what dish was great. Oh yeah, that one. Hey, you did something different with the mashed potatoes. What was that? Let's record that. Let's record these valuable insights for future benefit. Maybe in your organization, you actually want to create what's called a lessons learned register, and it can be open to the entire organization. That way, when someone else begins their project, they can benefit from that. You want to put your final report together. Now, as the project manager, you're responsible for getting it done, but you can have other people involved, right? Definitely get the project team involved. What went well for you? What didn't go well for you? And suggestions for future projects. So again, just because you've delivered your product doesn't mean you're necessarily done. Take time to reflect on those valuable insights, right? You spent money to create this product and you've learned along the way. Capture those lessons. It can just prove further value for your organization. All right, we're getting even more refined with our understanding of the project management lifecycle for the first-time project manager. Let's really just, I've given you a lot of information. Let's really just drill down to the cornerstones. What will be the most beneficial things? This quote, it's a little funny, but very insightful. It says that 20% of management theories are responsible for 80% of results. And that's assuming the Pareto principle makes the cut. And if you're not familiar, the principle says that 80% of what you get comes from 20% of what you do. It's also known as the law of the vital few. As a first-timer, what 20% of inputs can account for 80% of our successful outcomes? So if I were to pull out some cornerstones, and this is so debatable about what is absolutely the 20% that yields the 80, it's so debatable, but here's a few I would highlight. One, make sure you're doing the right project. Okay, make sure that the organization backs this project. You have it in writing. Make sure that you're authorized. You have that charter that says, I have the support of the organization to get this project done. Next, make sure that you're hitting the right target. Put a plan together. Your scope and your schedule will put that into writing. As the PM, you have to deliver the right ingredients so that you can deliver the right value. That's what project managers provide, is the value of this product to the organization. Next, you want to execute. Use the right people. As the project manager, you're not often managing a project, you're really managing people. It's the people who get the project done, right? Tools don't just assemble the products, it's the people who use the tools who assemble the products. You are the project manager. It's a default that you're going to be the leader to set the tone of the project, to inspire them to do their work. Communicate with the team and use the right channels. When it's just general things, chat and email should be just fine. But when it's difficult things or that require complex back and forth communication, perhaps face to face would be best for your team. And if it's a virtual team, you definitely want to schedule a virtual call. Moving on, monitor. Are we hitting the right target? Right? We plan a target, but are we really hitting it? Once you actually have done the work, you reflect and say, this isn't quite looking as we desired. Let's make these changes. And then that's where change management happens. You as the leader on this, you have to call it out and saying, this isn't what we wanted, or this isn't what was promised. Let's stop, analyze, and let's reshift our focus here. And then go back to the team and say, does this look better? All right, let's now move forward. Lastly, we've got the right deliverable because we've made changes done by the right people. We've hit the right target, provided the right project with the right value for the company. Now let's close it out. As I mentioned already, there are valuable insights, professional and probably personal lessons to be learned. Take the time to write them out. Capture these nuggets of knowledge for the benefit of your next project. All right, when it is time for your next project, please reach out to us. I hope you found the information in this webinar helpful. We enjoy Project Manager. We do project management. We work with organizations in every aspect of the project management process, from mapping out the business process to then building and customizing new tools, and then even training your team on the new processes and tools. Give us a call or reach out to us from our website. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again in the next webinar. Take care.